Hello Dodo Crew and welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. Today we're going for the top 10 best creatures to tame if you're playing PvP. This is my personal top 10 for ASA. After many hours of playing PvP, let me know your top 10 in the comments. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting the ranking with number 10, the Parasaurus or simply the Para, because it is super easy to tame in early game and has use in early game farming. You simply baller them, then knock them out with a club or trank them with your slingshot or some arrows. In early game, they can be used as a beast of burden and to farm narco berries to craft your first few narcotics to get yourself some better tames. Saddles are super easy to get and you can find them in all drops. Compared to their size, they have a decent health pool and farm good amounts of berries and can carry large quantities of resources at the same time. In mid and late game, many players use them because of their special ability, which helps them to find enemies and their dinos. You can use them if you have a large base, to see who is knocking on your doors without going outside, or grab them with a flyer and scout the map for enemy bases. Number 9 is the Giganotosaurus or the Giga. For me, the Giga is probably the most overrated dino in the whole game. They are relatively easy to tame, they just need a ton of tranks, narcotics, kibble and a second survivor to knock out the Giga. Gigas lose torpor incredibly quickly and must be fed narcotics immediately, otherwise they will wake up right away. For many players, Gigas have always been horrifying, especially in PvP. A pocket Giga can scare the crap out of someone. Having some Gigas close to your base and defending your stuff can keep even the strongest enemies away. Saddles are kind of hard to get and finding blueprints is even harder. But having a high level Giga with a decent saddle is a statement and something your enemies will be scared of if you throw them out during a raid. Number 8, the Rex should be one of your primary tames when you start doing bosses to farm element. The Rex is one of the best damage dealers and can kill all bosses on all difficulties with ease. Taming Rexes is very easy and can be done with either a trap or a Wyvern trick. Rex saddles are very hard to get overall, as they can't be found on all maps, and if you can get them, then only in the hardest caves. Even if you find a blueprint, it is usually incredibly expensive to craft these saddles. Take care of your saddles and your Rexes, and if you find lone Rexes of your opponents, then definitively kill them and take the Rex saddles. Number 7, the Pteranodon, is your main flyer, and if you can master flying this beast, even the strongest veterans will be afraid of you. I love the PT because having a good PT sets you apart from your opponents. While your opponents run out of stamina in the air, you smash them on the ground. Taming them is super easy for experienced players. You just baller them and then knock them out with a club in early game, or trank them with some arrows if you already got some. Saddles are easy to get and can be found in the majority of beacons. In PvP, you will need to tame and breed many PTs until you have some with a high level, good HP and a decent stamina stat. PTs are used by all players from early to late game to make short work of your opponents in PvP. Number 6, the Terrorbird is a creature that is either your biggest fear or your enemies, depending on who is riding it. I think overall on unofficial servers, the Terrorbird is kinda underrated and underused. When playing duo, trio or 4-man with 2 to 3 players on Terrorbirds, you can run even the strongest bases and destroy turrets in no time. Terrorbirds are very easy tame. You can tame them in early, mid or late game, but you need them before you start raiding. Get a decent pair of birds and create a breeding line. Saddles and blueprints can be found very easily on most maps, especially on the center. Before running turrets, set them to aggressive, so that if you die while riding into the enemy's defense, they start to attack players around them. This keeps your enemies busy while you prepare for the next run. Number 5, the Tulacoleo is my favorite stego killer. When a Tula attacks another dino, it gains a bleed effect that scales with the opposing dino's max health. Tulas are overall the easiest way to defend your base against stegos. They can be tamed quite quickly, are overall quite useful if you want to invade caves, and therefore a good start for your defense. Taming Tulas on the island was quite difficult, as you have to search for them in the redwood forest. On Scorched Earth it is much easier, as they spawn around the green obelisk. Okay, Stegosauruses are your go-to if you want to raid bases and tank turrets, and they are my number 4. Yes, you can tame stegos in the early game and breed them for health from the start on. They farm good amounts of berries and have a pretty good overall weight stat. They are also the creature you should put the most time into when taming and breeding to get stegos with max stats as quickly as possible. Their saddles are so important that even the biggest tribes will trade huge amounts of resources just to get the best saddles for their stegos. The rock golem is my number 3. Next to the stego, it is one of the most important creatures to tank turrets. It gets extra damage from tech turrets, but there is no better creature to drain your opponent's heavies. Just don't forget to look at the ground when approaching, so that the turrets don't hit your player. On most servers, they are also the go-to for rocks and sand. Yes, I already got comments on my last video. The 8s have an overall higher farm rate, but rock golems move faster and can carry more rocks. Plus, as they have no oxygen stat, you can also use them to farm in front of the easy underwater cave, for example. In caves with a water part, just place them in the way of your opponents and set them to aggressive. You can currently only find their saddles on Scorched Earth. I think the taming itself is pretty cool. And since ASE, I've been having fun shooting the golem with cannons. In every PvP run, I have several golems standing around in my base as fast as I can. Taking second place, we have the Wyvern. They are currently the fastest and most used flyer. In PvP, they are the meta flyer, and you will rarely see someone flying on a different dino in mid or end game. Thanks to server transfer, you now see them on nearly all maps. Taming them, however, is not simple. You have to find a decent level egg, then breed it and grow the Wyvern while feeding it milk, which overall is cumbersome in early game. If I have to rank the 3 types of Wyvern in PvP context, I would rank the Poison Wyvern 3rd place. This special attack can deal a huge amount of damage and torpor, but in PvP it can be hard to hit enemies with that attack as it has a very slow projectile. I'll rank the Lightning variant 2nd place, as it has probably the most versatile special attack. It is easy to aim, deals a huge amount of damage, has a very long range and inflicts good amounts of torpor. The Fire variant, in my opinion, is currently the strongest type of Wyvern you can get. Using its breath, you can no longer solely hit the Rider, since this got patched and the Fire variant got nerfed a lot. It is still the strongest variant, because it can hit Dinos and Riders. Its breath deals a huge amount of damage and can shred even the strongest players in seconds. Okay, you probably already know it. Number 1 is the Pyromane. This won't become a video where I flame Wildcard for their decisions. I think it is fine to pay for stuff in games. It helps to sustain the development of the game, but this is not the right way. I still had to buy the Pyromane, because if you're not playing with this creature in PvP, you will suffer. I'm just telling you that if you want to compete in PvP, you need to get the Pyromane. They are the single best tame to run caves and protect yourself from fire attacks like the Fire Wyvern or Flamethrower. They have great stats, and with the additional armor they can even tank turrets. I really like the design of the Pyromane, but it's broken. I don't know what Wildcard was thinking making a dino that costs 5 euros and is this strong. If you don't buy the Pyromane, however, you don't really need to play PvP anymore, because you will just suffer. I hope you liked this video, and I'm thrilled to read what dinos you would place in your top 10. Hit the like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm and consider subbing to the channel. Alright, Frodo.